Hi everybody, and welcome to Traveling with Russell, and welcome to a new video, and welcome to Moscow. I thought I'd take you for a walk around Russia's newest supermarket. So right behind me, we're going to slowly head on inside. The store we're going to go to is right in front of me here. It's called Dixy. Now, the reason why I say it's Russia's newest store, it has been open for 5 calendar days as of today that I've come here. Now, it's in a very nondescript suburb here in Moscow. There is lots of housing nearby. There is a very beautiful park right over the road right here. There isn't too much traffic going by. Now, there is actually a few other stores in the building. There's actually a 24-hour car parts store right there. There's a shop been remodeled on the lower ground floor. There's a phone repair place. And then over here is a meat shop. So if you really don't want to go to a supermarket to buy meat, you can go to a butcher's right in front of us, just there. Right besides the entrance, there's also a small shawarma place as well, where they do the mixed meat shawarmas. They've also got some pastries and drinks. And have a look in the window right here. Coke, Fanta, Pepsi, everything that we can't get in Russia. We literally walk out the supermarket and buy it from the 24-hour shawarma shop. A good way to know if you've found somewhere that's brand new opened is you always look for these balloons around the entrance of buildings, and it's a giveaway. It's a new store or new location of a particular shop, so I know I found the right place. So the brand of store is called Dixy. Now, this particular supermarket chain is predominantly in Moscow and Moscow region. They have around about 3,000 locations, 3,000 stores. And this is considered a small supermarket chain. If you have watched other videos on the channel, you know I really enjoy coming to supermarkets and different shopping centers. And to come to a brand new supermarket is something that kind of excites me, so I really had to come for a walk around. Now, this is very much what I would consider a Russian typical supermarket, and most people that will be coming here shopping will be people that live in the immediate area. They're not going to come too far from home to come shopping. Now, I was trying to look up the opening hours, and I just realized that there's no sign posted on the door, but it's open from 8 a.m. till 11 p.m. And have a look who's here, the famous floor cleaning lady. And you know, in a lot of my other videos, I get followed around everywhere I go by floor cleaning ladies and men on their little drivable cars. They actually have a coffee station right here, which is super nice. So if you want to make yourself coffee, there's also a cold drink fridge. And the bit that I always like is fresh pastries, and they've got a nice selection of fresh pastries and donuts and different cakes of some kind. A lot of them have different savory fillings, so either fruit or some with meat and chicken, and they're also very reasonably priced too. If you want to maybe have a look at some of the prices on the shelves, the easy way to work out the currency for US dollars is roughly 100 rubles equals $1 US. It's just a little bit under right now. So they've got a bit of a different layout too when you first walk in. So you see actually they've got a cake fridge right here immediately in the entrance. And then on this side they've got the bakery items. And then you come to fruit and veg, which is what we kind of be used to in most traditional supermarkets. Then normally what's at the front here might be what's on special. So there's mandarins are slowly coming into season. Grapes are still currently in season. And there's always bananas no matter what time of year. They've got some other promotions and specials. The promotions and specials are a little bit mixed here, so they've got some different pastas. And they've got alcohol as well. It's always strange as a person that's not originally from Russia to see alcohol in a supermarket, and in Russia it's absolutely normal. Here is all of the normal packaged breads. These all come from off-site, so these aren't baked in store, literally. And then Whereas a lot of the items you see here, they've got the ovens in the back and the refrigerators for the storage where they'll actually bake them or par-bake them here. You can get yourself a small loaf of bread, 40 cents for pretty much a half loaf of bread, but you've got a lot of different choices of breads in supermarkets in Russia. I'm really going to say this word a lot, that the way I see this as a Russian typical supermarket, because it really is. Where I live in Moscow region, we've got a Dixy as well. It's not as beautiful as this one, but it's very much practically the same in terms of what they're selling. We've got all the different vegetables here, lots of pickled vegetables you can see. And then there's refrigerated meats, and then mayonnaise and ketchups. They tend to put these together a lot, the ketchups and mayonnaises, because a lot of people will cook their meats that way, or they'll marinate meats or chickens. It's a good way to inspire you on a way to cooking your dinner tonight. Some apples right here for right on $1 a kilo. And then all of the very classic vegetables. And then tomatoes. I've talked about this quite a few times in videos about the unwashed vegetables. So unwashed carrots, there's beetroot, potatoes, and that's very normal. You can save a bit of money by doing it that way, getting them unwashed. This is where they've got a little bit more discounted items. And I just noticed that they're installing the self-serve nut section right here. So the store has been open for 5 days only, so sometimes not everything is finished and ready. So I'm pretty sure this has to be built from somebody from outside. So they've got all of the equipment to put it together. I wonder if I can film this without cutting. Maybe, maybe not. On the other side here, different fruits, plenty of types of pears. And then even, I mean, we're coming up to winter time now. It's now November. You can still get mangoes, pineapples. There's even coconuts right there. Coconuts in Moscow. It's even hard to think. So I tried to do it all in one take, and somebody walked past me with a bag of sugar that was leaking on the floor, so I had to let them know that there was a small hole in the packaging. Let's get back to normal filming. Having a look at some of the other fruits on display here. The mandarins are slowly coming into season, and they're 90 rubles for a kilo, which is about right. Maybe give or take 5 or 10 rubles. This is pretty much the seasonal price now. Also grapes as well. And then of course always apples. But imagine being in November now, and we're in a very, very typical supermarket, and all the choices of the different fruits that I can get in November in Russia. Walking on a little bit further to the dairy section, all the different types of milks, plenty of choices. Now the usual milk that I buy, right there is 60 rubles, and that's just about a liter of milk. They're normally a few milliliters less these days. There's not much we can do. They call it shrinkflation, where a lot of the packaging has changed sizes slightly, and the prices don't tend to change much, but it's not so bad. Then all the different yogurts here and cottage cheese. Lots of yogurts to choose from. And I know my wife likes all of these. She's always buying yogurts. We've always got some in the fridge at home. And then we wrap around to the different meats and hams and sausages. And these are very classic selections that you see. These are fairly well in all supermarkets. Now, one thing I'll point out here is there's Muratok sausages. Now, this is actually a chain of supermarkets in Russia. That's the biggest meat producer in Russia. And they're actually selling Muratok supermarket brand products here in Dixy, because a lot of people know this brand and they prefer it maybe over some of the other Russian sausage brands. You've got a lot of choices. So as I'm walking around the shop, it seems like the dairy fridges wrap around the whole outside edge of the store, and then there's all of the normal groceries in the middle here. And the yogurts continue. These are the different drinkable yogurts, which I really enjoy. 55 rubles, so that would equate to 55 cents US. And then the selections of cheeses. Now, being that it's a supermarket, most things, or all the things in here, are packaged and produced and then sent to the store, compared to going to some of the bigger hypermarkets where they may actually have a deli section or a cheese section where they've got people cutting and weighing the amounts of cheeses or meats, all of the different salamis and bacons. There is lots to choose from. And this is a very normal, typical supermarket. It's not particularly big, but it's got everything you possibly need. Here's the canned food section with very few canned foods. In Russia, it's not a very normal thing to buy a lot of types of things in cans. So peas and corn, olives, and that's about it. And then you're going to get different types of hams or fish or tunas, and that's it for your canned food section. And there's some different types of packaged nuts and seeds, sunflower seeds, and then some of the groceries here mixed in. They've got lots of different ends with different mixed items on them. So let's see here some of the things like toilet roll and toothpaste. The hams and meats continue around the other side of the fridge. And then we come across all of the biscuits and treats and sweets. Maybe you recognize a brand or two. Perhaps choco pie or Oreos. My mum's favorite here, Belvita. And there is always a lot to choose from. Very nice to have tea and biscuits, or if someone comes over to your house, get some of them as well out. Then you've got the pay-by-weight candy here, so you can just get yourself a handful of something. A lot of these are very classic, almost Soviet, original brands of candies that you can buy. And of course now they've got a lot more modern, more newer selections, so a lot of the Western brands. Now remember, this store opened 5 days ago. So if you think back 2 years ago when a lot of companies said that they were leaving Russia, how are so many of these things on the shelves? Skittles, and then all of the different Mars products right there. And then more snacks and different marzipan kind of products. There's even Nutella up there. I think this might be the Christmas themed one as well. And of course we can't go past different chocolate bars and plenty of Milka. I'm slowly eating less Milka because the price has gone up a little bit over the last 2 years. And now I'm having Alpine Gold, so this is 50 cents a bar versus 90 cents. You know, if you really eat a few bars of them over a week, you know, the price adds up. And there's the different juices or fruit juices. They're popular, but not overly popular in Russia. You know, a lot of people prefer fresher, homemade juices from fruits that they may grow themselves. And we come around the corner here to some personal care items. So all the different brands of shampoos, deodorants. And then this is the grab and go section here at the register. So more candy, all the sweet things, chewing gums, and chocolates galore again. My favorite Bounty down there. And then this is the replacement for Kit Kat, which is called Good Mix, which I don't think it's a very good replacement, but I guess I'll leave that as an opinion. Maybe other people have had it and disagree with me or agree with me. Of course, I could have gone to my local Dixy where I live. I could have made a walk around of it. It's literally a 4-minute walk from my house to come to this chain of supermarkets. I have 7 different supermarkets within a 1-kilometer radius of my apartment. But I thought I'd make this trip across the other side of Moscow to come to the newest supermarket in all of Russia that literally opened 5 days ago. Coming back to the outside of the store and the edges of the different shelving, they've got different types of milks and long life milks. And I know my wife generally buys one of these on this shelf or the bottom shelf, so 60 cents or 80 cents. The actual price of long life milk isn't too different from regular fresh milk. So it's not really a factor which one you might prefer to buy, you know, one or the other. And here's all the different ketchups. Plenty of Heinz branded ones. There's lots and lots to choose from. As we see, one of the ladies refilling the shelves. And the cooking oils. And I might spin her around here, let her do her thing. And then we've got all the different sauces and sachets. If you're going to do some things in the oven, these Maggi ones we like to use when we're doing chicken in the oven, on baking chicken legs or chicken wings. There's also noodles, and then different porridges and oats, hugely popular as a breakfast item in Russia. And then pastas over here, lots of choices of pastas. And then this is something I've pointed out a few times on different videos, the very limited choice of cereals in Russia. In most countries, like if I compare in America or in Australia, there'd almost be an aisle of boxed cereals. And in Russia, it's really just not a thing. People don't necessarily like these very sweet, sugary breakfast cereals. And a lot of parents won't buy these because of the amount of sugar in them. And they'll prefer their kids to have porridge or oats for breakfast. Let's have a look at the frozen section. Now, it's not very big considering the size of the store. There's just the very classic Russian frozen items here. So there's lots of choices of pilmenes or dumplings. So it's a pastry with different meats inside. You can actually get pizzas though. Actually have a look, frozen lasagna. Now personally, if I'm gonna get lasagna, I'm gonna go to a supermarket where they've got a kitchen and buy it as a cooked and prepared lasagna. And there's also chicken nuggets. There's some French fries. And then there's a little bit of seafood. So there's shrimps and different filleted fish. Again, the reason why most of this is much smaller in Russia is you can easily go to a butcher's or a fishmonger and buy fresh fish for really the same price as frozen fish. So you can get something that's much fresher. The same going for frozen vegetables. You know, you can get regular vegetables much cheaper and easier to cook, and you know that they're fresh versus the packaged things. It's really quite amazing in this store how many refrigerators they've got and how much refrigerated items they have. You can see here the mayonnaise, and then there's a selection of different fish products. Now, if you haven't seen it already, I've got a video where I went to a factory that produces fish goods, and actually one of the items they produced was this caviar right up here. That was one of the things that I saw being produced in the store. And then the rest of the fridge is chilled beers or refrigerated beers. Now, very normally in most supermarkets, the beers are all in non-refrigerated areas, so they're just on the regular shelves. So perhaps this particular location, they want people to come in and get a cold beer. And you can see here at Budweiser, is 70 cents for a 450 milliliter can of beer. And there's Tuborg, Stella, Amstel. So a lot of Western brands. And there's a mix of Russian brands as well, of course. There's quite a lot of types of beer in the fridge here. And the funny thing I find is sometimes a can of beer can be cheaper than a can of soft drink. And I can never really understand why that is in Russia. I think possibly there's different taxes on the ingredients. There is also some different refrigerated drinks here. So you can actually see that a regular bottle of Dobra Orange, which would be Fanta, is right on 60 rubles. And then a beer, depending on the brand of course, you can get for 70 rubles, 70 rubles, 58 rubles. So I can get a can of beer cheaper than I can get soda. Someone needs to answer me why that is in Russia. I really was hoping to see some Australian wine on the shelf, but after looking for quite a few minutes, I didn't see any. There is South African wine, there is Italian wine, wine from Chile, there is French wine, Spanish wine. I can almost name every country, and there isn't any Australian wine, which is to be expected in this kind of a store. They've just got one aisle here of wines, but it's still interesting the amount of imported wines they've got for a very, classic, typical supermarket. It's not just Russian wines. There's also some from Georgia as well, but even Italian wine right here. And there's also champagnes, martinis up the top there. So for a very typical supermarket, the selection is really quite good. And then the classic alcohol section is dominated by vodkas. Of course, a lot of different choices. $5 a bottle, $6, even $3 a bottle. You don't have to spend a lot on different vodkas. There is so many brands to choose from as well. There's also some other spirits here. There's Scotch whiskey, cognacs, brandies. There's even Irish whiskey right here also. Coming around the corner from the wines, there is the coffee section, and still lots of choices for a size of store that we're in. There is more than enough choices of coffee. Now the thing is, if you really want that bigger selection, you would go to one of the hypermarket stores. You'd make that trip to one of the shopping centers where they've got, aisles upon aisles of choices. But, if you live immediately nearby this store, you can come down from your apartment and walk in here and find everything. Here's all the different baby foods, and then the different powders here for the younger children. Nestle we had in Australia, very common brand, more than available here in Russia. And then you see here the different things for baking, so sugar, salts, all the different ingredients for baking on the top shelf. And we walk on a little bit further to the different types of waters. Now they have the normal still water over here, and then they've got some of the different bubbly waters or gassy waters. Now someone needs to tell me what these are actually called. My wife loves these different gassy waters. And if you ever go to a store, they'll always ask you, do you want it with gas or without? If you're being asked which type you want, if it's not out on the display or it's on a different shelf. And then the different cool drinks and sodas. Of course, I've talked about this extensively about Coke and Pepsi leaving Russia. And right here on the shelf, you can get Coca-Cola. This is actually from Kazakhstan. And then the Pepsi's right there as well. And then the actual replacement for Pepsi in Russia is Eves. which is produced in the same factory where Coca-Cola, where Pepsi is made. So you can get the replacement for Pepsi, or you can still buy the real thing right on the shelf there anyway. And again, the reason I'm bringing this up in this video is this store opened 5 days ago, and Coke and Pepsi said they left Russia last year. And of course, Pepsi is definitely more than available. There's a lot less talked about in media about Pepsi than Coca-Cola. And then the simplest way is for them to bring it from another country. It's still classic Coca-Cola, and it's on the shelf here in Russia. I've also showed eggs in a lot of different supermarket videos, and in Russia, depending on the store you go to, most of them are not refrigerated or in the dairy section. They're just here on a regular aisle where you can get all the cooking oils, the sauces, and then a very classic box of eggs. So this is 10 in a box, is 88 rubles, so about 90 cents US. And if you want the nondescript brand, it's just about the same price. And then if you really want to splash out and get the fancy ones, you're still looking at less than $1 for a box of 10 eggs. So there is a few other types down the bottom here, but you know, most people will pick up the one that's on special and aren't overly fussy with which brand they're buying. And we come to the section here with all the cat foods and sachets. Please tell me where you live. Is sachet cat food a thing? In Australia, I know we do sell it like this, but predominantly most of it's in cans, and the ones where you've got the ring pull cans. And another interesting thing too, they've actually got the Muratok brand of cat food. I talked about this a bit earlier about the different meats. So because they're a huge producer of meat products in Russia, they even make pet food as well. So you can spoil your cat or dog and get the fancier version of the pet foods and the different detergents for washing, just general cleaning products. Actually, we need one of these for our bathroom at home. I'm always wondering which flavor to get. I've always got these tropical flavors, and they sometimes smell amazing and sometimes they really don't. As I walk around, I really hope you're finding this interesting. The walk around of a Russian typical supermarket, and a brand new one, 5 days old. I know I've said it a few times, but this is the whole point of me coming to make this video at this store. So I really want to show that, you know, the Russian supermarket industry or business is alive and well, and new stores are always opening, and especially these suburban type supermarkets. You know, it's not just about going to the big box hypermarkets. This is something that's very convenient. You can come into this store, absolutely everything is in the shop, versus having to go to a big store and buying, you know, from more choices, walking around for an hour on the aisles, and you end up really with the same products and very, very much the same prices. I was wondering where all the salty snacks were, and they're almost here by the exit or at the register. So there's a few types of Lay's chips, and then there's some of the different salty fish. Now that's kind of convenient because it's right near the fridge with the beer, just ahead of us right here. And there's also a fridge here with some ice creams as well. So if you want to have an ice cream, maybe not the weather today outside for ice creams, but more than available. And they've even got the grab and go caviar fridge. They've only got a few different classic brands in the fridge here. They should actually have champagne down there as well, so you can get yourself caviar right at the register as you're going to pay. Now, they do actually have a different couple of types of checkouts. So this one is the one that will be manned, or mostly ladied, right here. And this is where they've also got all the tobacco products and some of the other alcohols at the back right there. So you'd have to come to a separate checkout. And we can actually see right here one of the normal checkouts. So the lady gets a very nice comfy chair as well, so she's very fortunate to sit down. This is very normal in all supermarkets in Russia. And slowly but surely, self-checkout's becoming a thing in Russia. So you can do your own payment. They've got all the same facilities for paying. And if you don't want to come to the lady. Now, very normally though, it's just easier. The lady knows everything. She knows all the prices of the fruits. You don't have to choose and pick which maybe vegetable that you've got or bakery product. And she'll check out for you right there, everything you need. As I slowly make my way out of the store, I thought I'd just do one last quick lap around. And I'm trying to get a nice photograph for the thumbnail of the video. And although there's not too many people in the shop, the angle that I want to get the photograph on is very difficult to try to get an empty aisle of people, because I don't necessarily want to get people in the photograph without asking them ahead of time. So it's just nice to try to get that clean photograph. You can even get a Matrushka chocolate right here. So they're slowly bringing out things for the holidays, and just walking around. You know, very much the people that you're going to see shopping in the video as I walked around are people that live within a block or two, and this will be their new local supermarket to come to. So a lot of people know the Dixy brand very well, of course, but to come to a brand new location and everything, you know, newly laid out and on the shelves. Of course, we all know the brands and products if we shop at any supermarket in Russia, but you know, to see it in a new store, it's always exciting, I think. As I make my way out of Dixy, I just need to watch my step, and I leave the balloons behind me. 5 days old. And of course, a few of the different reasons that I wanted to come here. One was that it's a brand new Russian typical supermarket here in Moscow. This chain of supermarkets is very, very large. I mean, almost 3,000 stores. And it's predominantly just in Moscow, St. Petersburg, and around the Moscow region. And that's a very nice store. I've done another previous video if you want to watch an older one where I went to Magnolia, and I put that on par with the Dixy. The Dixy where I live is not nearly as nice as this one. Of course, this is brand new, so you come in, you can smell and taste how new and clean it feels inside, right? It's a very nice store to make a video. And the other reason too is, of course, roughly 2 years ago now, well, not far off 2 years ago, there was a lot of changes in Russia. A lot of brands left Russia. A lot of sanctions were imposed against Russia. And of course, a lot of people will say, and you're more than welcome to say that in the comments, that it doesn't affect food. It doesn't affect, you know, everyday products, but there is a lot of flow-on effects from this. So things like trucks, and there's not the brand of trucks in Russia that deliver the food to the stores. You can't get spare parts for the trucks. That's a problem. There's also not necessarily the refrigerators or the parts to repair a fridge if it breaks down. So that's a flow-on effect that would affect the supermarkets and the stores like this. Even the glass door openers on the entrance, they may have been a European brand, for instance. They've had to source other products to put the door on the front. Now, I may be kind of rambling a little, but there is an effect of sanctions in Russia in different ways, and it does affect supermarkets and retail. And of course, if you look at the store that we've just come out of and how full it is, the assortment, the selection, and how it's still possible in Russia, you know, let me know what you think. You know, is a new store where you live just like what you've seen? Do you have shops in your city or town just like this? Now, I really am in a suburban area of Moscow here. I'm actually going to walk towards the train station just down the road in front of me here, as I see a tram going right by, which is pretty cool. Yeah, let me know in the comments what you think of a Russian typical supermarket as you've seen it in the video. Post a comment. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you're maybe new to the channel and you've reached the end, thank you for watching this far into the video. It's super nice of you. And if you maybe want to join me on Telegram, I've got a Telegram channel. I post a link to that for you to join my Telegram channel. And I'll put an older video for you to watch right here if you want to see something on the channel you've not seen before. There's lots of videos, almost 300 videos on the channel. So more than likely there's something you haven't seen before. You can check out that. Join me on Telegram. And I'm off on another adventure. Bye, everybody.